Young Thug is facing some new RICO charges. We'll explain what that means right after this.
That Corbin and Corbett legal team fighting for the rights of the people. That father-daughter team investing in the youth when the system ain't treating them equal. Providing truth for our people, we able to reach them. So anytime you get accused for a crime and Lord knows you ain't do it, we here to get you through it. Exemplifying prudence and glorifying God, making sure you're compensated for other people's doings. Our vision is to be one of the best. We're small enough to focus on your matter throughout the neighborhoods of Dallas. Working constantly and making sure your rights are protected. A firm team of lawyers, aggressive, effective. A team that has your back in the courtroom. Two well-spoken black lawyers in the courtroom. Investing time and resources when it's evident that you were treated wrong. Now you walking out of Dallas courtroom with a settlement. Corbin and Corbett, the father-daughter legal tag team that has your back in the courtroom. Our purpose is simple. To obtain a favorable outcome for each client and glorify Christ in all we do. Our vision is to be one of the best and most...
Rebels, what's up? This is attorney Chloe Corbett, aka the Duchess of Justice, and with me I have
Attorney Augustus Corbett, aka the Minister of Justice.
We are the Defiant Lawyers. We provide legal analysis of trending politics, policies, personalities, and pop culture to empower each and every one of you to defy this unjust legal system. Before we get into today's topics, why don't you go ahead, like this video. You know you're going to like this content. We bring it to you every Saturday. Share this video with your family and friends so that they too can become a part of the legal rebel community. With that, Dad, happy Saturday, and what's up?
Well, the first thing I want to say before I go any further is today is a very special day. Very special day. 34 years ago today, I stood at the altar and married the woman of my dreams. 34 years ago today, I married the woman of my dreams. Your mother, Antonia Williams Corbett. Sweetheart, I love you. I know you're watching. Thank you so much for the last 34 years of my life. These two wonderful children that you gave me, and all the many great memories and the many days. I love you with all of my heart, my soul, my feet, my eyes, my nose, my ears. I got some big ears, so that's a whole lot of love there. I'm very serious. I am honored to have done life with this woman for 34 years. So, thank you. I love you.
And that was the best decision of your life, I'm sure, Dad. And
the second best.
Okay, the first best is giving your life to Christ.
Yes.
Yeah. And then it was marrying Mama. That's pretty serious.
Absolutely. That was the second best decision of my life. So yes, I'm speechless. I get speechless. I get speechless when I try to articulate all that's in my heart about this wonderful woman that the Lord gave me to marry. And we are, anyone who's been around us for any amount of time would know that we are soulmates. No question about it. We are soulmates. And I guess some people say, well, yeah, any putting up with you for 34 years, that's definitely got to be your soulmate. So, all right.
Happy anniversary to you all. Love you all both so much. Without you all making that decision, I wouldn't be here. Kayla wouldn't be here. So I'm so grateful that y'all are my parents and that y'all are celebrating this special day. Mom, I love you so much. And y'all really are soulmates. Y'all spend so much time together. I'm like, y'all don't get tired of each other? Not at all.
24/7. We're together 24/7, honestly. Even when we go to the store, we're together.
Yeah.
You ride with me to the store, sweetheart.
Yep.
Sometimes she'd be like, I'm getting ready to go to the store. As if to say, I need to just get away. And I'm like, hold on, let me get my shoes.
So happy anniversary to y'all.
Thank you very much.
So, Rebels, we have some good topics today that we're going to be discussing. We have four main topics. We're going to start with the Young Thug RICO charges that just came out a few days ago. They've been trending on social media. There's a lot to talk about it because it goes into rap culture as a whole. It goes into hip hop culture, black culture, and then popular American culture. Um, there may be people, Dad, who are watching this broadcast who've never heard of Young Thug. I mean, just listen to that name, Young Thug. That's his rap name. His government name, the name that he was born with, is Jeffrey Wright. But Young Thug, aka Jeffrey Wright, is a very
Jeffrey
popular.
Williams, right?
Oh, Williams, excuse me, Jeffrey Williams.
Yes.
Yes, he is a very popular rapper out of Atlanta.
By the way, I didn't know him. Okay.
You didn't know him at all?
No. I mean, it all starts to run together. Young Thug, Black
Yeah.
Thug,
Yeah.
Hip Thug, all these names out here. So I didn't know this guy existed until this story broke.
Yeah. Well, he's very popular, Dad. I mean, he's had songs on the Billboard charts #1 for 10 years now. He's worked with a lot of rappers. He's out here. He's out there. And now he's facing multiple felony charges. He's facing RICO charges. He's currently in jail. He has been denied a bond for these RICO charges. Other people associated with him and with a gang that he allegedly started called Young Slime Life, YSL.
What is it
they're
called
facing
again?
charges. Young Slime Life.
Young Slime, like
Life.
slime.
Like slime.
Young
YSL.
Young Slime Life. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this picture here has another rapper that he's associated with, Gunna.
Yeah. He's popular too. Very popular. Very popular.
Now, one of these two guys, they co-wrote a song and video that I am familiar with, This Is America by Childish Gambino.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was Young Thug who co-wrote that. So I am familiar with that song and that video.
Yeah. So there's just so much to say about this story. So like I said, he's currently in jail right now without a bond. He's facing some very serious RICO charges. We're going to explain that to everyone who's listening on what a RICO charge is. I wanted to give just a little bit of backstory about Young Thug because he's been through a lot in life.
Okay.
He grew up in a very poor home. He is the 10th of 11 children.
Okay.
He was in and out of the juvenile system since the 6th grade, where he allegedly broke a teacher's arm, and he spent several years in juvenile prison when he was a juvenile. He was, in and out of jail once he became an adult, and he has had a lot of run-ins with the law. And what he's also known as, Dad, is he's very flamboyant. He's known for wearing dresses and jewelry and painting his nails, all of that. On the one hand, he's associated with gang life.
But what is it with these rappers wearing dresses? I mean, what is that all about?
He's kind of at the forefront of it.
There's this other rapper. I don't know them all. I don't know hardly any of them, but I remember this other rapper also wore a dress. I mean, if they think it's cute, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's been associated with Lil Wayne, with the Migos, with a bunch of Atlanta rappers, New Orleans rappers. He's, from that South type of rap that's, permeated throughout the country. He's also associated with
Dirty South, right?
That Dirty South rap. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He comes from all of that.
I didn't know what Dirty South meant until I did a little research on it. And I believe they're saying that the South, because of its racism and all of that, is a dirty place to live. That I agree with.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, it is. And I mean, we're from the South. You've seen it firsthand. You talked about the things that you've seen. I've seen some things and it's still like that. And so it the this type of rap, it has that grimy kind of slowed down southern sound. That's what they're known for.
Yeah.
That ATL sipping on syrup, like just grimy sound. So that is the culture of rap that he's come up in.
Okay.
So right now he is in a Fulton County jail. He has been accused of being a leader of a prominent Georgia gang, Slime Life (YSL), that is associated with the Bloods gang. It was alleged that he formed that gang with a few other people back in 2012, and that through that gang they have committed murders, put drugs into the community, a whole host of other offenses.
Now, I want to jump in here and say strongly that these are all allegations.
Just allegations.
And we're going to talk about that in a moment too. But I want to make sure that that is understood. We as criminal defense lawyers, we understand that better than most. These are all allegations. So if we don't use the word allegations when we are talking about things that they have done or are currently accused of doing, just know these are mere allegations.
Yes. He is presumed innocent. As of right now, he is innocent of all of these charges. These are just allegations by the state of Georgia, brought on by the Fulton County District Attorney, Fannie Wilson, I believe is her last name.
Willis.
Fannie Willis.
Yes.
So these are all literally just allegations. Nothing has been proven. He's not had his day in court. He has not accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty. So they are merely allegations. So he was arrested in his home in Atlanta. Apparently, his 14-year-old son was there.
Wow.
Saw him being arrested. He does have 6 children, but I think 4 different women. And one of those children was in the home with him when he was arrested.
So, I mean, that's reported too, right? We don't know that to be the case
too.
either.
Yeah, that's reported too.
Yeah.
He's hired an attorney named Brad Steele. They have appeared in court in front of a judge where his attorney is saying that these charges are baseless and untrue. And he asked for the judge to set a bond on Young Thug's case so that Young Thug can be released from jail. The initial judge refused to do that. So it was reported that Young Thug's attorney has filed an emergency motion to have a bond set based on inhumane conditions that Young Thug is facing in jail. So he's likely going to have another bond hearing where his attorney is going to try to argue for him to be out. But as of right now, he's still in jail.
Well, and I want to interject there. Look, jail is a horrible place.
It is.
Chloe, Caleb, myself were all wrongfully arrested in 2019, and it was horrible. And we were just there over some foolishness, over some couple of real simple misdemeanor charges that should have never resulted in our arrest in the first place. But that experience was bittersweet. You know, it was bitter because it was awful having to go through that and be in that place, that horrible place. Sweet, however, because it gave us an inside view of the people, of the situations of the people that we represent. So I can imagine. I'm sure his attorney, and then, you know, these guys are millionaires. They're used to, I think he was arrested in the Buckhead section of Atlanta, which is sort of a high up section. And so this dude is probably not used to being in a jail. I mean, he's used to comfort and all of that. So I'm sure that he's telling the truth about the conditions of the jail.
Yeah. It's a lot of times the conditions are inhumane, and it's made that way to make the inmates, the people who are accused in jail, to feel just at the bottom. And we felt that when we were illegally arrested and in there as well. So the Fulton County District Attorney, Fannie Wilson, she filed a 88-page indictment against Young Thug and several other people associated with YSL, I can't say that, Young Slime Life Gang. And one of the prominent charges that she brought against Young Thug and his associates was a RICO charge. And I know we have a slide detailing what that is, right, Dad?
Yeah, I'll be bringing that up in just a second here.
While you bring that up, this Georgia statute, this RICO charge is based off of a United States federal law that was enacted, I think, back in the 1970s. And it was really used to try to catch, members of the mafia and members of those big Italian gangs and mafia gangs up in New York. And that is how a lot of those huge mafia gangs and gang bosses were arrested and taken down with this RICO law. So several states have modeled, state law after the federal law, and Georgia is one of those states.
So now with the indictment, as you said, it was issued by a grand jury. Just a little bit of background information on an indictment. The things with an indictment is they're again just allegations. They're just accusations. We stress the fact that this young man and every one of those folks named in this indictment are presumed innocent. They have not been found guilty of any of these charges of violating any provision of the RICO statute. The public should consider them innocent of all of these charges until and unless the prosecuting authority is able to bring forth creditable evidence that satisfies the fact finder, be it a jury, I'm sure it will be, or a judge. Until that happens, they are presumed innocent, and they deserve that right to be presumed innocent. All right, so no one come to any snap conclusions about this allegation. Just because the DA says it's so doesn't mean it's so. Just because the grand jury says it's so doesn't mean that it's so. Just because it's an 88-page indictment doesn't mean anything. It's just 88 pages of trash until it comes through. Okay, so don't let that sway you. And so, okay, yeah. Now you want me to bring up now the slide having to do with the RICO statute, Chloe?
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
I'm not seeing it yet. Let's see if it.
Yeah, it's up there.
Okay, I see. Okay. So, RICO. Everybody's heard of RICO. It's trending all over social media. You kind of may know what it is, but we want to get into it. So, the Georgia version is based on the 2010 Georgia Code under Title 16, Crimes and Offenses, Chapter 14. And RICO stands for Racketeer Influenced in Corporate Organizations.
Corrupt.
Corrupt organizations. Thank you. RICO. Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations. So let's go over some definitions of what that means. Georgia defines an enterprise as any person, sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, business, trust, union chartered under the laws of the state or any other legal entity or any unchartered union, association, or group of individuals associated in fact, although not a legal entity, and it includes illicit as well as licit enterprises and governmental as well as other entities. So basically, Georgia defines enterprise as a person, as someone who runs a business as a solo proprietor, so it's just in their name, as a partnership, if people come together and are running a business, as corporations, basically it's pretty broad. Any person or most business types, Georgia defines as an enterprise. And keep in mind, guys, we are licensed in the state of Texas. We're not licensed in Georgia. So we don't know these laws like a licensed Georgia attorney would, but we can explain it to you to the best of our ability.
And let me also say that this provision also says that this definition includes illicit entities as well, meaning those that are not legal, they're not incorporated, they may be just a street gang, just a group of people who are furthering some sort of criminal activity.
Yep. So that includes gangs.
Yes.
That includes gangs. They would be defined as an enterprise. And then Georgia defines racketeering activity. Remember, the R in RICO stands for racketeer. It means any act or threat involving murder, kidnapping, gambling, arson, robbery, theft, receipt of stolen property, bribery, extortion, obstruction of justice, dealing in narcotic or dangerous drugs, or dealing in securities, which is chargeable under the laws of the United States or any of the several states, and which is punishable by imprisonment for more than 1 year. So racketeering is any act or threat involving, those charges or those acts that I just read.
As a matter of fact, if I am not, I think I'm right about this. What's his name? R. Kelly was prosecuted under the RICO statute as well, in the federal RICO statute. And I don't know too much about his case, but he was, I think the jury found him guilty and he's awaiting sentencing. And I'd like to say with him and with all of these persons that we should pray for them.
Yeah.
Yes, anytime a crime has been committed, there is, in most cases, a victim. So we should also pray for any victims, right? So the perpetrators and the victims need our prayers. And I just want you to do that. Just pray. I mean, the Lord is, even when we do wrong, even when people commit crimes, God doesn't forsake them. The Lord doesn't forsake them. So therefore, they deserve our prayers. Again, both the perpetrator and the victims of the crimes. So, and keep in mind, once again, Young Thug, a.k.a. Jeffrey Lamar Williams, has not been found guilty, and any of his co-defendants have not been found guilty of anything.
That's right. As of right now, under our law, he is presumed innocent. He is presumed innocent. Do you want to go to the next slide with the other definitions, Dad?
Okay, well, this slide here gets into prohibited activities, begin to sort of outline, in addition to the things that you just read, Chloe. It says it is unlawful for any person through a pattern of racketeering activity, as we just read it, or proceeds derived therefrom to acquire or maintain directly or indirectly any interest in or control of any enterprise, real property, or personal property or any nature, including money. It is unlawful for any person employed by or associated with any enterprise to conduct or participate in, directly or indirectly, such enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. It is unlawful for any person to conspire or endeavor to violate any of the provisions of subsection A or B of this code section. So this RICO statute is very, very, very powerful. Not only does it go at the actual criminal activity, but it goes after sort of the business activity behind the criminal activity. And the government, both state and federal, has used RICO statutes, as you explained very well, Chloe. Most states just sort of mirrored their RICO statutes after the federal RICO statute. And they have been used to bring down some very powerful organizations because of the way this thing is written, the way it gets at not only the person, but the enterprise and the business activity. of, someone prosecuted under these statutes.
And they're so broad as well. That's why a lot of district attorneys' offices in the U.S. Attorney's Office uses these RICO charges to go after people they believe are involved in gangs or organized crime, because a defendant need not to have committed a crime to be guilty on a RICO charge. So Young Thug himself or anyone associated with him may not have committed an actual crime, but if the state can prove to a jury that Young Thug was associated with these type of acts, then he may be found guilty under the RICO statute, even though he himself may not have actually committed a crime, may not have actually, murdered anyone, kidnapped, arson, bribed, etc. But just being associated with that organization, YSL or any other type of street gang, that's why he's facing these RICO charges, and he could be convicted even if he himself did not participate in the actual acts themselves. So it's very, very broad. And a lot of people have critiqued prosecutors and the government using the RICO statute to go after people because of how broad it is.
Yes, that's true. And reminds me of the many conspiracy statutes the federal government and state governments have at their disposal as well. They may not come at someone or a group of someone based on the RICO statute, but they're conspiracy, as you said, just helping someone further some sort of criminal activity. Something as simple as, giving them a ride after the crime has occurred, even, or certainly before it has occurred. It brings to mind the two people in Alabama who were recently caught, a corrections officer who allegedly helped an inmate escape jail for a couple of weeks, a week or so. And they are thinking that someone helped him rent a hotel room. Well, while that may not be some RICO violation, it certainly could be considered a conspiracy, right? So yes, it's broad. Those conspiracies can get not only the person who actually did it, but the person who also participated in it. And in some cases, if someone is killed, there is also the felony murder statute that is really, I tell you, it really traps a lot of people because, if someone is committing a felony and another person gets killed, then although that person wasn't intending to kill someone, they still could be charged for the person's death under a felony murder statute. So these statutes, the legislatures write them to be broad so that they can prosecute as many people as possible from one sort of criminal episode.
Wow, which is amazing that they're able to do that. Another thing that I want to bring out and have a discussion about, Dad, is the First Amendment and the government using these rappers' lyrics against them, because this 88-page indictment against Young Thug and other people associated with him used lyrics from his songs in order to indict him on these charges. And there's a lot of controversy surrounding that, because at what point does the First Amendment, at what point does the lyrics from a rap song and the First Amendment collide?
Okay, before we get into that discussion, let me say hello to a commenter here. Seems to be a new one. Ella Saul seems to be a new commenter.
What's up?
And Chloe, I want to make sure I pronounce the name correctly. I think it's Ella Saul. Eliso. What do you think?
Elaso.
Okay. All right, very good. And Elisol, I hope we pronounced your handle correctly. So Elisol says it seems like the government can RICO just to get rid of anybody they choose to, even if this is legal. And should this be tolerated if the abuse of the law is so very obvious? This is a serious human rights issue. Why is it being tolerated? Yes. Oh, she said yes, it's correct. So we got her name correct. It's a very good question and observation, Elisol. Why it's tolerated. Like Chloe explained, the RICO statutes kind of came about to target organized crime, especially folks in La Costa Nostra or the mafia. But prosecutors have since begun to start using it against gangs, basically. And not just gangs, again, groups of people who they believe are furthering some sort of criminal enterprise. And what they do is they basically look at the activity, look at the evidence they have, and kind of just go through the statute and say, does this match that? Does this line up with that? Does this match up with that? If so, and they believe they have enough evidence to get an indictment and a conviction, they'll go for it. Why is it tolerated? Well, some criminal activities, again, leave a long line of victims, okay? And oftentimes the victims of these criminal activities, sometimes especially, tend to be in the minority communities. And so the legislatures then will pass these laws and will have the political support they need to pass these laws. And then sometimes they look back at it and say, hey, did we make it too broad? Did we give law enforcement too much power here? Can we or should we dial it back a little bit? That's the thing when you empower the government to do something, it tends to grow and expand and become more than what it was intended to be, So, with the RICO statute, that's the way I would look at it.
Yeah, I would agree. A lot of times the laws are enacted, maybe for a good purpose or to try to help the greater good in the community, but the way that they are applied can become discriminatory, even racist, or they can become overly broad and used to target, other groups of people that the law was not made for. So, in theory, I think the RICO law is good to try to help, minimize organized crime and, stop potential victims. But when it's used in a overly broad way or to target a specific group of people, that's where I have issue with it. And I think that's where a lot of the debate is about it as well
Yes.
as in this case too.
All right, now let's talk, Chloe, about punishments under the RICO statute, the Georgia version of RICO. And basically, to bottom it out, person convicted of a RICO violation in Georgia is then guilty of a felony offense that carries no less than 5 years, no more than 20 years imprisonment, and a fine. So no less than 5 up to 20 years in prison for each conviction. And the thing to remember about counts, if there are more than one count, there's more than one sort of charge, then a person can be sentenced to each charge up to 20 years, no less than 5. And then the government or the judge will decide, or the jury, whether or not that punishment, this depends on the jurisdiction, right? So we're not Georgia attorneys. We're Texas attorneys, so we can't speak too definitively about Georgia statute because we don't know it as well as we know Texas law. But if a person is convicted of more than one offense, the judge has the discretion to either order the person do his or her time consecutively or concurrently. And if it's, say, 20-year sentences, if the judge says the person has to do it consecutively, that means the person has to do the first 20 and then start doing the second 20. If it's concurrent, then the person can do both 20-year bids simultaneously. The first example, the consecutive sentence, is here what we call stacking, and it's bad. So we try to prevent our clients from getting sentences that are stacked.
Yeah. So they're facing a lot of time, is what we're saying with these charges. Each charge in the indictment is between 5 to 20 years. And I know Young Thug himself has at least 7 charges, maybe more, against him. So each of those charges has 5 to 20 years associated with it. And depending how, this court handles it, if he is found guilty, remember now he is presumed innocent, then either those charges he would have to serve them concurrently, or the court could stack them. One thing I wanted to talk about really quickly before we move on is the First Amendment and using his lyrics against him.
Yeah, look, let me just say before you get into that, Chloe, thank you for taking us to that. That is so important. I actually covered this topic. I did several videos on R. Kelly a few years ago. And a similar situation occurred. R. Kelly wrote a song, and the prosecutor, when they finally did get to trial on R. Kelly's case or cases, certainly they went back to that song. And I said in my video that it's very, very, very possible for that to happen. And I explained it. Go watch that video. R. Kelly video. I forgot the name of the video. I think it is, I can't remember, but it's a pretty obvious title. So thank you for going to that topic, Chloe. It's a very, very, very important topic because these rappers be saying a whole lot of things in their music. And so let's talk about how the First Amendment impacts all this.
Yeah. So the indictment names a lot of songs that Young Thug is on or wrote. One of them is a song called Bad Boy, which is by Juice WRLD, who unfortunately is dead, and Young Thug. And some of the lyrics are, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, I'm a bad boy. Went and got off my A and got to the cash and got in my bag, boy. Please don't think it's sweet. I stay with the heat, even though I'm a sad boy. You better watch the way you breathe around me, for that breath be your last, boy. Let's do it, yeah. So that's one. Another lyric that they quoted in the indictment is from a 2019 song called Just How It Is. I done did the robbing. I done did the jacking. Now I'm full rapping. And it's all my business. We know to kill the biggest cats of all kittens. Okay. And then another lyric that they quoted from the song Bad Boy, which I just read, which I just read from, Smith and Wesson 45 put a hole in his heart. Better not play with me. Killers, they stay with me. And I shot at his mommy. Now he no longer mentioned me. So these are all some of the lyrics from Young Thug songs. And remember these songs are huge. 3 of his albums went to #1 on the Billboard charts. So they use some of those lyrics in the indictment to try to say that he engaged in these acts. And to defend, the Fulton County District Attorney doing that, DA Willis was asked about that decision and said, she said that the First Amendment is one of our most precious rights. But she argued that free speech doesn't protect someone from having their own words become evidence in a criminal proceeding. To counter that, Young Thug's attorney said that using his client's songs, that his client's songs were simply a form of self-expression. He said, quote, "It's offensive to take a musical artist's poetry and then twist it out of context into crimes," end quote. So yeah, that's where we're at. That, do you believe that is that the rapper songs or musical artist songs are just a poetry and just a form of self-expression, or should the government be able to use their lyrics and use it as evidence of that the rapper has committed a crime?
It's a tough question. Again, I would refer someone back to the video I did. The name of it is "Can Prosecutors Use R. Kelly's I Admit" song against him? So I kind of spent some time covering this topic in that video. In summary, just because someone says something in a song or in a play or in a movie doesn't mean that they actually committed the offense. If so, there would be a lot of actors and actresses and musicians, etc., who would be prosecuted. I mean, it's a stretch to just say, because somebody said something, because someone wrote something, that they're guilty of what they said or wrote. I mean, these are, after all, entertainers. And we're going to talk about rap culture in a moment, because unfortunately, this culture sort of feeds on this violence, right? And this gang culture. It feeds on that. So these guys put a lot of this stuff in their music because they know that's what the streets want. Doesn't mean at all that that's what they've done. Take the rapper Kendrick Lamar, right? I just saw a video of a song that he did where he defaced or deep faced some people in that video. Very good video, actually, on a song that I love from my childhood by Marvin Gaye. Yes. And apparently Kendrick Lamar has just put out an album. And he's known to be a positive rapper, I think. I don't know much about him. But they did say there is one sort of kind of gangy type of song on the video. So does that mean Kendrick Lamar's a gangbanger? Does that mean he did any of the things that may be in the song? No, that absolutely not. So I agree with Mr. Steele, Young Thug's attorney, on that. Now, all that said, it is just not wise to do that. If you know that you are the subject of a criminal investigation, if you know that law enforcement has its eyes on you, if you know there's the potential of you being charged with something, it does not make a lot of sense for you to put a whole bunch of stuff in songs and raps and so forth, because absolutely the state or the federal government is going to use those things in their prosecution against you, if nothing else, but just to make you look like you are guilty of what you said. Those things are what we in the law call admissions. They are not necessarily confessions, but they are admissions. So they're not wise. Now, how does that relate to the First Amendment, Chloe? You tell us.
Well, basically, the First Amendment says that we have freedom of speech and freedom of expression, freedom to express ourselves. And as part of a musical artist's creativity, they are expressing themselves through their art, and their art happens to be music. And with rappers, we know that a rapper's lyrics are literally the art. With other musicians, with jazz musicians, they use instruments to make their music, or singers sing, and the lyrics are important, but not as important as it is with rap. So that's what a rapper is. A rapper is nothing more than what their lyrics say. So, I do believe that rappers and other musical artists should be able to express themselves under the First Amendment. and they have that right. They have that freedom of speech. Now we know that um, the government cannot infringe on our First Amendment rights, and in this case, the government would not technically be infringing, but the government would be using those lyrics against them in court, and that's where it kind of becomes a little sticky because it's not necessarily the government is not saying, well, you can't rap about this. You can't rap about what you've seen, etc. What the government is arguing is when you do rap, use violent lyrics in your rap, we're going to use it against you in court. So that's where it kind of gets a little sticky for me. And I don't think there's been enough cases to kind of litigate it. Is using a rapper's words in court, is that a form of infringement? Is that, is that limiting the ability to express themselves? I think it may be leaning towards that way. Um, and you mentioned Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar is one of my favorite rappers. He actually talks about some stuff, real stuff. He doesn't act like he, is gang affiliated, but he does rap from the perspective of growing up, people around him, the things that he's seen, etc. Um, and To Pimp a Butterfly, he talks about a lot of serious issues. And Good Kid, Mad City, he raps from the different perspectives of the young black men growing up around him who were in gangs or who were involved in that violence. I don't think those type of lyrics should be used against him because he's rapping from the different perspectives of different people who were around him. The issue comes though with rappers like Young Thug and others where they try to put on this image that this is who they are. Yeah, we do this. We will shoot your mama. We will blah 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 blah. And Kendrick Lamar, that from his rap, he is expressing himself from what he's seen around him. Young Thug and other rappers like Young Thug, they try to put on that this is what they're actually doing. So I think
Well,
that's kind of what the difference is.
yeah, yeah. I mean, according to the district attorney's office, it's not only an image; it's reality.
Yeah, according to the DA.
According to the DA, it's not just an image; it's reality. And again, that's just an accusation. By those accusations, Mr. Williams, Young Thug, is innocent till they prove him guilty. If they can prove him guilty, I don't know. I just know he's presumed innocent. But that's what I was trying to say earlier. Again, we give him the presumption of innocence. But if a person is out doing that, okay, that sort of thing, why would they come back and then just put it all in music? I mean,
That's their
that's just.
expression, Dad. That's how they say they express themselves. That's their art.
But is it art imitating life? If so, then again, it's just not smart art. Oh, I just coined the phrase.
Okay.
It's not smart art. Okay. If you are doing something like that, right? I mean, think about it. If a bank robber robs a bank and then go make a song, I just robbed a bank. And, I walked in the bank with my gun stuck out. I put it in the face of the teller and told her, don't make a move without a doubt. But she reached for the buzzer too fast. So I shot her in the Oh my God. I don't know how I ended up. Ooh. That's a little freestyling. That went the wrong way. It went the wrong way, Chloe.
Rapper in Cali that
I didn't know how to get out of that. But that, you see my point?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Now.
Yeah. Now, but if we were Young Thug's attorneys, we would be arguing strongly. You cannot use these lyrics against him. You can't. This is self-expression, just like Mr. Steele said.
uh, Ella Saul says, "Come on, Dad." Hey, Ella Saul, I didn't mean for it to go in that direction. I mean, look. As a matter of fact, that's y'all's dirty mind. I didn't. You all made that association with the word. He could have been saying that he shot her close to the glass or something. I don't know. You all made that association. Mm-hmm. But Ella Saul, and I see that Ella Saul's from Switzerland, all the way from Switzerland. So thank you for tuning in today.
Yep.
But it's a very, very interesting question, Chloe. And you're right. If we were representing Young Thug, we would be making these arguments that this is overreach by the government. And it's a violation of Young Thug's First Amendment right to be able to use what he see every day in his community, because that's what they're doing. Look, I can go back to NWA, and that's what they literally said. We're not promoting or perpetuating these things that we rap about. We are talking about them because this is our community, and we want to shine a light on it. We want America to know that the police is corrupt. We want America to know that young kids are getting killed at 14 and 15 and 13 and 12. We want America to know what our hood is all about. Doesn't mean that we're doing it, but this is what's going on.
Yep. It's a fascinating conversation that's going to continue and continue. So we're going to keep up on this. This is huge. I'm sure other rappers are kind of like, maybe I need to go back and look at what I'm putting out and making sure that my house is in order, because they're not playing.
That's right.
The government's not playing. And this is a black woman, a black DA, District Attorney Fannie Willis, who is bringing these charges against Young Thug and other people associated with him. So we'll keep you all updated and informed about this as more things continue to come out.
Rap culture. So this is a segue right into rap culture. Now, I'm going to go on the record here. And let me say first and foremost that I love rap music. Now, I'm an old school, old head, right? I'm over 60 years old. But listen, the first rap music came out in the late 70s. I was a teenager. So I've been listening to rap music longer than your generation, Chloe, right? I mean, I can go back to the old guys, to Grandmaster Flash and Run DMC and Africa Bambaataa and Raheem and Curtis Blow and I can go all the way back to that. In fact, I was living in New York City when rap started to emerge, right, in the late 70s. And back then it was different. In fact, it started in the Bronx, and it was really a way for these kids in the streets to kind of do sort of rap battles instead of gang banging, so they could see who was the best MC. That's why a lot of the music, I'm the best MC, all that, because they were literally saying, okay, instead of pulling out our guns and rocks and stones and bats and chains and all that, I'm going to beat you in this rap game. So I'm the dopest MC. I'm the illest MC. I'm the best MC, so on. Today, 50 years later, much of the rap culture I despise. It's very negative, with the exception of the Kendrick Lamars and the J. Coles, okay? And others, I don't know them that much. It's horrible, the game banging that's associated with rap music, the murder, the misogynist attitudes, the degradation of women, the drugs, all that stuff. It is horrible. And you and I, as criminal defense lawyers who are also African Americans, we see the impact on our young people. I don't mean to get preachy right here, but this is reality. We see it every day. We represent these people. We represent juveniles who many are influenced by this rap culture. So that aspect of rap culture, I despise it. It has had a horrible impact in our community. And it seems like every couple of months or so, some rapper is getting killed because of that culture. So that would be my opening comment about rap culture.
Yeah, I think man, I think rap/hip hop culture has really changed America and changed popular culture. In that aspect, I respect it. How, something that you were just describing that started in the late 70s is a relatively new form of music, of art that came out of New York, out of the Bronx,
Made
and
a lot of young blacks very wealthy, actually. So it's
yeah,
there's a positive part to it.
yeah. So I respect it from that angle, and it really has become popular culture. From being the subset of culture from the Bronx to spreading all across America and really all across the world. And just the music form itself, I respect people who are able to put words together, put rhymes together, put their poetry or their rhymes to a beat and make it sound good and make it sound cohesive. So, in terms of the technical part of it, of rap, in terms of the impact that it's had, I respect hip hop and rap a lot. And I love rap music too. Unfortunately, now there's been a change, especially in the last, I would say, even 10 years, that where rap has just continued to go downhill. So from the 70s, 80s to the 90s, we know, NWA and those type of groups. But then from the 90s and 2000s, rap became more fun again, like kind of how it was when it first started back in the 70s. But from the 2010s on, that's really when it became like these mumble rappers, all of the violence that you hear, these SoundCloud rappers where anyone can just put something up on SoundCloud, which is a site where you can put music up. That's where rap culture has really began to change, and
So
I don't like that.
so let me ask you a question. Is that the result of rich white executives pushing rap in that direction, or is that what sells the most albums? Or I guess those two things are the same. Or is that what the streets want? So is it the streets that's dictating this, or is it white executives that's dictating this?
I think it's white executives. I When rap first started, we know it started organically, and just people coming together, just like you were saying, having these rap battles, or whatever. Throughout the 50 years, as has become so popular and such a huge money making machine, that's where these rich white executives and these big record labels came, and they really push a certain narrative, and they will take someone and say, you need to act this way, you need to say this, we want you to portray this, etc. And
But
by them
I'm sorry, go ahead.
and I was just going to say, by them pushing that is what has become popular. So that is what people desire. I feel like if
What,
executives and if artists came out and pushed something else, that's what would become popular, and that's what people would desire.
all right, okay. So when a rapper puts out something positive and sales are weak, the music executives, the record companies, et cetera, the distributors and so forth, say, okay, look, we're in contract, we're in business to make money. This album is not making money because you went too positive. So we need some grind, we need some grit, we need some violence. We want what the streets are saying it wants.
Mhm.
Okay? Is that the record executive, or is that the streets? Look, in other words, record executives are in the thing to make money. If the streets buy positive rap, then I would think the record executives would be okay, great, wonderful. Just as long as record sales stay up, we don't care if you do gospel rap. So is it the record executive or is it the streets?
I think it's a combination of both. I think it's mostly the record executive. And to me, it can't even be the streets anymore because a lot of these rappers, their audience are teenagers, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, people on TikTok, people on SoundCloud, people my age in our 30s and our 20s, we're not consuming rap like the younger generation. So it's really not, to me, even the streets anymore. It's these young people. And
so are you saying these young people want that type of content, that thug gang banging content?
I think they do because the rappers have made it look cool and glamorized it. And I think the rappers made it look cool and glamorized it because the white executives wanted them to put that image out.
So why do you think the white executives wanted that image out there? Is it something sinister and nefarious? Or is it, in other words, is it because, and you know what? A lot of these record executives have Jewish ancestry. A lot of them are Jews, right? I can name a few. A few come to mind. So you're saying they're promoting something they know that would intentionally harm the African American community?
I think one is money, and then I think this is what they believe. I think a lot of it, this is how they believe black people are, and this is what they believe we want. The black community, y'all just want, glamorized violence. Y'all just want something edgy and grimy. So put that out.
Okay. Let me read a couple of comments here. Jane Doe says, white executive want. So I presume Jane Doe is saying white executives want it. Ileso says, just look at who owns these distributing companies. They decide what gets out and what sells. It's only normal for people to conform from a sociological standpoint. And No Known says, thank you for joining us, No Known. Says, I think it's both, similar to how the news. If it bleeds, it leads. The news stumbled upon what the audience craves, therefore they cater to it because it gets the best ratings. Rap is similar this way. We have
I think
some
that's a good analogy.
Yeah, we have some very smart rebels here today who are laying it out for us. So
I think that's a great analogy, Dad, because the news, the advertisers want to get eyes. And what gets eyes a lot of times are those gruesome stories, the murders, the biased news stories that come out. So that is what the news organizations, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and others put out. I think the same is with hip hop. I think that was a great analogy of the relationship between the two.
All right. So there's just this belief in this particular industry that you're going to get more eyes, you're going to get more viewers, you're going to get better ratings if you put bad stuff out there, gruesome stuff, ugly stuff. That's what people want. That's what they'll come to. And I have to agree because that's what the news is. Pretty much 30 minutes of bad news, basically.
Yeah.
And so I guess the record executives operate from that same standpoint, put the bad stuff out there. Now, what about, though, the Kendrick Lamars and the J. Coles? Are they working with different types of distributors and record labels who allow them to go in a different direction, or do they have a different type of audience that wants that positive content. How do those kinds of artists get their music sold? I mean, they're winning Grammys. I mean, Kendrick is a huge rapper. So is J. Cole.
Well, Kendrick is associated with TDE, Top Dog Entertainment, which was started by a black record producer, and they have a different type of musical artists on that label. You know, Absol, J Rock. These are more underground, not like the newer generation of rappers now. J Cole started his own record label as well, where he gets to put out artists that are more like him too, R&B and rap.
But
So
J. Cole and guys like that, they still need the big distributors to get their music out there. I mean, they can make the kind of music they want to make, but they still need these white executives to distribute the music.
not necessarily. I think that's changing a lot.
Well, that's true. That's true because of
Social
social media,
media,
right? Yeah,
yeah. A lot of
very true.
rappers and artists are wanting to become independent. There's more money in it. They get to keep their masters. The record labels and distributors don't get a cut of their music. They can fund their own music, put it on YouTube, put it on social media, put it on SoundCloud. So I think the distributors, they're becoming less and less relevant and necessary
Okay.
because of social media.
Okay.
So therefore, an artist has more autonomy over the type of things that they put out.
Okay. So let me ask this as we get ready to move on to Brittany Griner, and that is, do you think these rappers have a responsibility to put out positive content and not put out content that is corrupting our youth?
Man, that's such a good question. That's such a good question.
And let me hear from our audience as well. What do you all think about that?
Yeah, let us know what you all think. I kind of see it in two ways. You know, I see from an artist perspective that this is their form of art, that this is their musical expression, that is not meant to necessarily be taken as reality. And anyone who is creative, you know, you don't want limitations put on your creativity or to be put in a box. But at the same time, because of how popular rap has become and the influence that it really has on young kids and generations, I do believe the artist should be thinking what the responsibility is and their role in popular culture. So
Well,
while understanding,
but suppose it doesn't make money. Suppose record sales are flat, and no one wants that.
I think if they start putting out positive things, it will start to make money. No one has really tried it because the industry has just said, let's put out the grimy stuff. But I think
Okay.
if a group of artists came together and said, we're going to really put out some positivity, we're going to do all of this, there may be an affinity for it, but they haven't tried it.
Well, what about the gospel rap artists? I mean, isn't that their genre? Shouldn't they be the ones, the Lecrae's and in fact, my nephew Jamel Brown, they're the ones who are kind of covering that genre by putting out gospel, positive, inspirational rap, right?
Yeah, but you hear a lot of frustration, especially from Lecrae, with just being seen as a gospel artist and not really being seen for his talent. I think he's the best rapper working today out of all of the rappers,
Lecrae?
Kendrick Lamar included, Lecrae. But you can tell he's really become frustrated with just being known as a gospel rapper. And I don't know if he feels confined with just being known as a gospel rapper, but not being able to talk about some of the negatives that has happened in his life because he's gone through a lot as well. So I think it's kind of two sides of the same coin.
Well, I'm a disagree. I think the best gospel rapper out there is Jamel Brown.
Well, chew. Gotta give it up for Cuz.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I think he goes hard
He does. He
for
really
Christ. And I know his life. I don't mean to suggest that Lecrae is not living what he sings and raps about, but I know Jamel is, and and the talent, the gifting, the anointing that Jamel has is just awesome. In fact, this song right here, he provided for us. So my nephew, Chloe's first cousin, produced this for us and
Wrote the lyrics.
and provided it for our broadcast. All right, so I would just say Jamel. All right, so we want to move on now to Brittany Griner.
Yes,
Okay.
Brittany Griner. So Brittany Griner, she's still in Russia. For those of you all who may not know, she's a WNBA basketball star, huge basketball star in the Women's National Basketball Association.
Yeah, one of the greatest WNBA players. I mean, I
Ever.
remember, I think Brittany was one of the first professional women basketball players to dunk the basketball. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, she's awesome.
She got skills.
Yes.
She got skills on the court.
I wouldn't take her on, believe that. I mean, even when I was 30 years ago, when I was much younger, no way. Nope.
Well, she's 6 foot. She's 6'9". She's a beast on the court. Yeah, tall, powerful woman, and she's been held in Russia since February of this year on allegations of drug smuggling for allegedly taking like some cannabis oil or whatever, having it in her suitcase and taking it over to Russia. Because what a lot of those WNBA stars do is in the off season when they're not playing because they don't make a lot of money with the WNBA, they go play for all of these foreign countries. And she's been going to Russia to play in their leagues for I think like 7 seasons now. So she went over to Russia. In her bag, she allegedly had some cannabis oil and she was arrested. And she's been in a Russian jail.
For the record, I don't believe she had no cannabis oil, to be honest with you. I don't believe anything Russia would say. I mean, anytime they're lying, just outright lying to justify the invasion of another country and lying to their people and lying to the world. I mean, we see with our own eyes. For a couple of weeks, they even said, we're not invading Ukraine, and we're constantly bombing them. So for the record, I don't believe that Brittany Griner did that. I would not take this on face value because the Russian government says so. In fact, our government has come out and said that she's being illegally detained.
Yep. I don't believe him either. And she's been going over there for several seasons. Like, why would she even bring something with some cannabis oil in it? It doesn't make any sense.
Knowing that she's going to go through, all that checking in a country like Russia, of all places, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I just don't believe that.
Me either.
And I pray that she comes home. They were supposed to have a pretrial or some kind of detention hearing yesterday, right?
Yeah, yesterday.
And they ended up resetting
extended it another month.
Another month, yeah. I mean, please, you all, keep Brittany Griner in your prayers. Please keep her in your prayers. And we pray that she comes home. We celebrate the fact that the Marine from right here in Texas, actually, they released him a couple of weeks ago. There are a couple other Americans over there that we want to see released. So let's just keep Brittany in our prayers, and so that she can come on home and that God will strengthen her while she's over there.
Yeah, and I think she's facing 10 years in a Russian prison. And people are speculating that because her her hearing was extended, it's probably going to go to trial.
Wow.
So she's going to have to go to trial in Russia. It's looking like. The U.S. State Department, they are, like you said, Dad, they've classified her as being wrongfully detained in Russia, and her case is being handled by the Office of the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs, SPIHA.
Mm,
And this office coordinates the government's diplomatic efforts at securing the release of Americans wrongfully detained abroad.
mm. Okay.
So they're working on it behind the scenes, we hope. And we need you all to work harder, um, America, to get her back.
Well, with respect to the last question, rap culture should rap artists put out more positive music? We asked for the audience to chime in. We got a couple responses. No Known says it would be nice if everyone took personal responsibility for the energy they put out into the world, but ultimately the responsibility falls on the listener to not look towards them as role models. I mean, again, I'm just impressed with the audience here, and they're just very thoughtful responses. Thank you all so much for that. Um, okay, so our last topic, Chloe, before we get off, we've been up here a little longer than we typically try to. And by the way, I'm so glad that you're back. You were not here last week, and hardly any of our folks showed up with just me by myself. So that that tells me you are the star of this show. I'm just hanging out. So you all, we won't make that mistake again. So Chloe, she'll be here going forward.
Well, we were both working on a very big trial that we had last week, a big multi-day jury trial. So we got done with that this week, and so now we're enjoying ourselves a little bit, and doing this show is a part of us enjoying ourselves and relaxing.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, next week I think we're going to be talking about this big trial that we just had. You all, it's going to be about child custody and race and injustice. You got to hear this story. Let me just put it that way. You got to come back and hear this story next week. All right?
Yes.
Okay. So the Tulsa suit, just very quickly, don't have a lot to say about that other than the fact that, excuse me, pardon me, the city of Tulsa, excuse me, has been trying to get this lawsuit tossed out for the damages that some of the descendants of folks who were murdered there in Tulsa back during the 1921 Tulsa race massacre.
Not just the descendants that they were there, the three plaintiffs.
Okay, all right.
They're all in their hundreds now.
And there they are right there. Thank you for that, Chloe. There are three of them. Two of them, I think we see there in a wheelchair. We need to see justice done for these folks before they, before they leave this earth. They're well up in age. All of them are over 100, aren't they, Chloe?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they tried to get this lawsuit tossed out. However, the judge said no, it can move forward. So we just wanted to give you all that update that this is now going to go forward, and hopefully these folks are going to get justice.
Yes. So the plaintiffs, they've sued the city of Tulsa, various other governmental agencies in Oklahoma. Yes. 100 years ago, this massacre happened, and justice still has not prevailed. So we're glad that the judge has allowed the lawsuit to move on, and they can go to the next stage, which is, doing discovery, doing depositions, potentially even going to trial. So we hope that they succeed on this lawsuit.
Yes. Very good. We are getting ready to get out of here. Thank you so much, Ella Soul, who says a good job to the Defiant Lawyers. Thank you so much. It's all Chloe. I give her all the credit. All the credit.
Nah, this is a team effort. We both are the Defiant Lawyers. Father-daughter legal team with mom in the background being the back and bone of this whole operation. Happy anniversary to y'all, Dad.
Yes.
Happy anniversary to
34
you.
years. 34 years.
34 years. That's a huge accomplishment.
Absolutely. Yes.
In this day and age.
So, Chloe, do you have any parting words? Let me just say thank you to all of the subscribers, all of the commenters, all of the rebels, all of you. Without you, this show wouldn't be possible. This is the reason why we do this. Thank you, Elisol, all the way from Switzerland. Please join us next week. Thank you so much. Thank you for the happy anniversary wishes to No Known and everybody.
Thank y'all for joining us. We're going to see you next Saturday.
Peace. Do you know why I do that every week? Peace, love, and soul. Because of Don Cornelius, who was the founder of Soul Train. And he would end every show. I guess I'm dating myself again. He would end every show with peace, love, and soul. Peace.